The BetterMan podcast is sponsored by
With God, all things are possible. With God, all things are possible. There's nothing I can do when I'm with you.
The BetterMan podcast is sponsored by Aroga Drive. Drive is the only natural product that provides sustained energy and helps boost your mood. Check out betterman-drive.com.
If you that guy who's crying all the time, man, it's really going to be hard for your woman to see you as the man who's leading them in a certain direction. Better Man fam, we're back, and we got a good one this week.
Woo!
Yeah. We're gonna be. I love when you scream. We're gonna be talking about debunking of myths, specifically when it comes to things that men can or cannot do. And one of the primary things that I heard as a young boy, and I'm sure you guys did too, was real men don't cry. Now,
I would actually say I did not hear that much because I was primarily raised by my mother. So I didn't have a father at that young age to technically tell me that, but those were things that I heard from my friends' fathers. And so when I was younger, well, I cried like crazy. But it's not because I was sad. I think I cried more out of anger.
yeah,
And so when I think about that, I was going against that whole entire saying because I was showing emotion.
right.
And I think when you hear real men don't cry, real men don't show emotion. And I think that's the argument that we hear and have. I think let me not say argument, that's the myth that we grew up hearing. And now people are like, it's like pulling teeth trying to get emotion out of us when our whole lives we haven't, for those who haven't shown emotion.
So then, are you saying, Garrett, that, well, what is the benefit of a man crying?
Showing understanding, showing that he actually feels some way towards a situation and that he's not Iron Man, he's not superhuman, that he is human. And I think there's a level of sympathy with the person that he's crying with to know that person's not alone.
Yeah.
And actually, I think when a man cries, it actually makes a man stronger because a man is willing to express his feelings rather than just bundle it up and throw it away and take it out on other people who've done nothing to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think when we're weak, when we're strong. When we're weak, we are strong.
Yeah. Man, for me, I think, obviously the myth is debunked. And I was one of those kids, man. My mother could look at me a certain way and I would cry. Yeah. My oldest son is the opposite of that, and my middle son is just like it.
Oh, yeah.
So
Dylan ain't crying
yeah,
nowhere.
That boy hard as a rock. And so, but for me, man, I don't know if it's because my dad wasn't there, right? Or didn't instill that in me that men don't cry. But as I got older, some of my male cousins, my uncles, boy, stop all that crying. Ain't nothing wrong with you, right? Like I couldn't express the truth of, my situation at that time. Yeah. And so what that did for me over time is it did, I don't know if it forced me to, but it did help me to kind of bottle up my emotions and not always show my cards to anybody. And I feel like I had to hold on to some of those emotions. But man, look, since I've had kids, I got 3 kids, 14, 12, and 9. I mean, I cry like a baby all the time. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm always crying.
I mean, I agree. I think in general, a lot of guys nowadays realize that we're not the way we were 50 years ago, and I think it's more acceptable in our society that it's like, listen, you can express it. I think where the man part comes in is knowing how to control your emotions one way or the other. And sometimes, that means maybe it's the moment to cry. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not the moment for that. Maybe it's the moment to laugh, or maybe it's not. So I think knowing and having an emotional intelligence is what makes a man, as opposed to before there was an emotional constipation where it was just like, all right, I can't do anything. I can't show my emotion because that's what it is being a man. I think today, well, what we would say, we define it the right way, would be, you are in control of your emotions. And the Bible says sometimes you cry with people. And sometimes it's the moment to cry. Sometimes it's the moment to show some of that. And I think at the end of the day, it's vulnerability. Yeah. And that's where before vulnerability was always thought of as being weakness. If people see behind what I show them, then they're going to see behind the curtain. Yeah. And that's weakness for a lot of people. But I think more and more, I think a lot of tremendous leaders have debunked this idea and saying, no, vulnerability is the source of my strength. As I'm real with people and as they see that authenticity, and sometimes that means I cry, then they latch on to me or to the cause or to the mission or whatever in a deeper way. So
let me ask you something. So as the leader of your family, as a man, and we know that sometimes women tend to be more emotional than us men, right?
Right.
And so the showing too much vulnerability worry a woman that you're not capable to lead, and that you're relying on your emotion. Well, you're falling back to your emotions too much.
Oh,
you understand what I'm asking?
I understand exactly what you're asking.
Wait, I don't understand what you're asking. So are you saying? So you're saying that would it concern a woman if they were too emotional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you're sitting up doing all that crying all the time, that's going to be a problem for your wife.
Because
what she needs from you is a man with a steady hand. Yeah. Right? Can you cry? Can you be wounded? Can you be hurt? Absolutely. But you can't live there.
Yeah.
And I think not the problem, but I think when I think about your statement is, right, if you're that guy who's crying all the time, man, it's really going to be hard for your woman to see you as the man who's leading them in a certain direction.
Right.
And so you do have to, I think you've got to temper your emotions so that you can show her that you're leading right in the right direction and that you're leading with a steady hand.
Yeah. But I would think that I don't think that it's fair to say to women, well, you're more emotional, so I have to be more in control of my emotions. And I don't think you're saying that.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
I don't think you're saying that, but I think that some people do say that. They're like, well, women are more emotional, therefore it's okay for me to share my emotions as well, but I can't do it all the time because I got to be her rock and all that. I think I think she's got to be just as much in control of her emotions as much as you are. But I think it's going to be manifested in a different way based on personality, based on charisma, based on background, based on so many things. So I actually tend to cry more than my wife does.
Yeah.
But I still lead her as the head of the household, and she still wants me to lead. And she's not, just because I'll have moments where I get emotional about something, doesn't mean that she feels like I'm any less of a man. She's never thought that.
Right.
Yeah.
And she doesn't relate to me that way. You would know that by the way they relate to you.
Yeah.
But I think, again, it's all about control. Yeah. And it's all about, what is appropriate in this moment. And sometimes what's appropriate is to say, listen, I'm going to share something with you I don't want to share with you, and I'm probably going to get a little emotional talking about it.
Yeah.
But that's what I feel like that would be real for me to say right now. I've got to show you what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And when we have those types of conversations with my wife, I don't think she thinks any less of me. I think she thinks more of me because and the same thing with her. I gauge her emotions and how she deals with it differently. So that's my thought. I don't know. Do you?
I want to add to that.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go absolutely.
I think I'm not saying that you can't be emotional because I'm emotional. I think what I'm saying as a man is, though, you can't be led by your emotions.
Right.
So, for instance, let me give you an example. I've been in the real estate business for a long time, and I've had clients talk to me crazy, right, on the buy side or the sell side. If I lose my temper and I get emotional with them, I lose my job, right? So I've got to be able to walk the steady course. I've got to be able to handle anything that comes my way. If I want to cry at home, I can do that.
Yeah.
But when it comes to leadership, I just cannot be led by emotions. And that was the point I was trying to make. And when I think about a guy who's emotional all the time and it's visible, people can see it, people can feel it, and he looks shaken, right? Then people are going to be concerned about his leadership because you can't control yourself, when the waves and the winds are all over the place. Yeah. So I do think there's a level of wisdom in control.
Yeah. I like the word control, and I will say, man, I'm gonna challenge you because I'm a little different than you, and I'm not saying either way is right. I'm not saying either way is wrong, and this could be a struggle of mine. But for me, we've all kind of grew up having that mindset that all men are strong, and it kind of goes with all men, real men don't cry, and so I feel like, and this is the relationship like I choose to have. This is the way I choose to approach the situation. But when I'm really battling with something in my workplace, it could be bothering me so bad to where I just want to go home and feel frustrated. But in a sense, I go home and I don't put it down, but I kind of just suck it in and toughen up because I don't want to see my wife frustrated and I don't want her to worry about me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I think there's a level of me trying to be too strong in that moment. At some point, it always comes out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But there is moments.
That's the point, though.
Yeah.
It does come out eventually.
And I do like that.
What happens though when it takes too long to come out with your wife?
Right. I think there comes a point where my wife would be like, I could tell you were really bothered by it. I'm glad you finally got it out. But for me, I always try to be that source of strength for her. And so, and man, I don't hold it in because I'm not trying to be weak. I think I hold it in because I don't want her to worry, and I want her to know that I can handle disappointment. I can handle things that are not going my way with still a strong and positive attitude because she knows me to be this strong person up here, and which I, for the most part, I really much am. And this ain't nothing like my wife doesn't already know about me that I'm not sharing.
Right.
But she knows like I take pride in keeping myself together when things are going wrong. And so I wonder if that's something that was instilled in me as men, having to be strong. And I don't know, it's just a challenging question. Like, is that the right way to do it? Is that the wrong way to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I do think there's some wisdom, right? Because in my mind, I'm thinking there are things that may come our way as a family, and my wife's response to it is going to be totally different than mine.
Well, definitely.
And so I feel like, I may be more diplomatic in a situation.
Yeah.
Right? You can get more with honey than you can with vinegar.
Right.
And so sometimes I just approach it like, my disposition or my demeanor, all of that is just different from hers. And she can be more emotional.
Right.
And in my mind, okay, you're going to lose the deal.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it, like deals.
Right.
And I'm not going to lose the deal.
Yeah.
I've got to do what I have to do to make this thing work. And I'm going to hold it together until we cross the finish line.
Right.
But to Manny's point, there is a part of me that at some point it's got to come out.
So you summed this up perfectly. Is what I was trying to
Gotta
say.
come out. Yeah.
Well, but my pushback is implied in that is where I think the danger is for a lot of guys in thinking that strength is no emotion. And it sounds like what I'm hearing from both of you saying is that, well, I've got to keep it together for my wife.
Yeah.
I've got to keep it together for my family. But the implication on that is that, well, she doesn't. And so my pushback is I think that both need to keep it together, and it's going to look different for both.
Right.
And so just because someone might respond, just because I think more like a businessman doesn't make me more mature than my wife is. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
And so that's where that's my only pushback. It sounds like there's an implication there that, well, I have to be strong, so I've got to keep it together some of the time, whereas she doesn't have to because she's a woman.
Well, let me say this: as a leader, we've all heard too much is given, much is required. And so when you look at it from that perspective, I feel like you have to be strong.
Well, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I would just say, I would just question what we think is strength.
Okay.
And so I think up until now, strength has always been, well, I can't show emotion.
No doubt.
And I can't show you what I'm really struggling with on the inside because I got to be strong.
Yeah.
My pushback on that is just saying, well, if my wife knows that there's something going on,
right,
and if I lie to her when I say, no, there's nothing going on, don't worry about it.
I get what you're going. Yeah.
Then I'm not really showing strength if I'm lying to my wife because A, she knows I'm lying. B, I'm lying.
Yeah.
And so, and C, I mean, so I think strength really is coming clean and being like, you know what, I'm really struggling right now with something. Yeah. I'm not ready to talk about it yet because I think I'm going to say something I might regret, or I'm still processing what to say and how to think about it. Do you mind giving me a little bit of space until I'm ready to talk about it? I think that's strength that most of the time, and listen, I'm not great at this at all. Yeah. It's something I'm still learning to do, but I find that holding emotions in doesn't help her and it doesn't help me in the end.
Right. I think for me, though, as I was making that point, I'm not talking about being emotionless and holding my emotions in. I'm talking about controlling them.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think.
But don't you think she does too?
She does too. So I'm not saying she don't. Man,
I'm trying to save you here. She's gonna be watching.
No.
Yeah.
We need to step in and protect them. I don't think Larry is saying that women, I don't think he's saying that they don't control their emotions. It's just sometimes when it comes to control, actually, I don't even want to say that because
boy, Manny,
I'm trying to find out
what you're implying is
that
you're the only one that can be
but I like this though because it's challenging me and you to actually stand firm on what we're actually believing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, stand firm, but also I like Manny's points because what we did say, I'm throwing us under the bus, did kind of imply that they could not. And my point was not that she can't control her emotions.
Me neither.
Baby, that ain't what the point was. I'm just saying. But no, that's you giving me a lot to think about, Manny.
Yeah. Well, I think it's at the heart of the thing. So when we're saying real men don't cry, we are like, well, we cry. Okay, it's more. I think the deeper issue is the emotional intelligence. I think most men are not emotionally intelligent.
Okay, give me the definition of what emotional intelligence is.
I think it's knowing how to respond appropriately to the situations that arise. Yeah. And for some of us, the way that we do it is we don't tell anybody about it. We pretend we're okay, and then we go beat up the punching bag. And we're like, well, I got my emotion out on the punching bag. Yeah. But if we're lying to everybody else and we're putting up a facade is something fake. Yeah. Right. How can we say we talk about it at BetterMan all the time? We can't say that we're fake, and still be real men.
That's real.
It doesn't work out that way. So any time I'm putting up a facade, I'm displaying and showing weakness. Yeah. Anytime I do that, so I think there's a way in which we can do it. Obviously, we don't have to show everything all the time to everybody. I'm not saying that,
right?
But I do think, right?
Could a facade be a level of wisdom and discernment?
No, but I think it's okay for people to see, listen, this troubles me. This is weighing heavy on me. I don't want to show you and tell you everything I'm thinking right now, but I want you to know I'm not okay right now. I need to spend some time just to think through this. And, for some people who are listening, they're like, well, I can't do that in any situation. I've got to always show this or that. All right, you do it the way you want to, but you go look at some of the most successful people out there. Yeah. And they're real with people all the time. Part of the reason they're so successful is because they've learned how to be real in such a way that doesn't threaten other people. Yeah. Like I could be real with my wife and not make her feel like, man, everything is falling down around me and my husband's going to walk out of me and he's not going to be a dad. I don't have to act that way, but I can let her know and say, listen, I'm really struggling right now.
Yeah.
And I need some time just to get my head on straight instead of blowing it, instead of whatever. So,
and I would say, man, I like that because one, I think you challenged me today. And then two, I'm not saying that my wife doesn't love when I'm vulnerable because she wants to help. She wants to be there for me. And I love that she wants to be there for me. I think it's something more that I deal with. And I think I put my own perception of what she's thinking is I need to be strong so she can see I'm strong. So if she ever does deal with something, she knows she can come to me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's how I was trying to put it.
Yeah.
I think it took a while for me to get to that point.
Well, hey, I like what you just said, but I also think, and y'all correct me, Manny, go on, correct me if you think I'm wrong. But I do think there's a level of confidence that our wives may have in us because of our perceived strength.
Yeah.
But if you're falling apart all the time, your wife is like, man, I'm gonna have to get up and hide this body myself because this fool can't do it.
Yeah.
So I think there is a level of confidence they have in us because of our strength.
yeah. Well,
Right?
and that, I think that's where the maturity comes in.
Yeah.
You have to grow up. I mean, that's the thing as well. You can't be falling apart all the time about everything because then that means you're immature.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the emotional intelligence comes in that you get over time as you mature.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you're like, all right, I need to hold it together now for the family. And then I'm going to have some time later where I'm going to cry and I can tell my wife about that or something like that.
Yeah.
But everybody needs me to be strong right now.
No doubt.
And so I'm going to hold it together, but I'm going to let them know, listen, this is really troubling me right now. But I want to be a shoulder for you to cry on right now. And so you can say that, I think. And then, you can later say, listen, you share it or don't share it, but I mean, I think that's where the maturity comes in,
Right.
So that you're not losing it all the time. But in the same way, I need my wife also to grow in that maturity as well. And my wife used to do certain things emotionally that she doesn't do anymore.
Yeah.
And so even though she has some emotions that are stronger than mine, I have some that are stronger than hers. And so sometimes when I get super angry, I get loud.
Yeah.
When she gets super angry, she'll cry.
Yeah.
But both of us are displaying in that time either emotional immaturity or emotional maturity, depending on how we're responding.
I like that. I do want to ask a challenging question because I feel like before we got on this, we were talking. I think this will spark some controversy. Is there a such thing as a stay-at-home dad?
There is a such thing as a stay-at-home dad. Right?
Yeah.
They exist.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I agree with the concept. I think that, biblically men have been called to provide, to shepherd, to be the priest prophet of their home.
Yeah.
Right. And so that has nothing to do with a woman's inability to create or make income.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't say that she can't work.
Yeah.
But scripture says that if a man doesn't work, don't work, the joker don't eat.
Yeah.
And so for me, let me just add this in there. Provision is not just making money. Yeah. So I'm not just saying he can't provide if he is at home, but provision comes in multiple ways.
Yeah, I like that.
So I disagree with the thought of a man staying at home and not providing for his family.
Right. No, I agree with you. And when I think of this, I just couldn't imagine myself staying at home. I'm a go-getter, I'm a hustler, and I enjoy that. But that doesn't take away the qualities, like you said, of being at home is providing that emotional support for your family as well. And so I don't know. We're talking about, our conversation. We're coming with emotions between men and women. I just felt like it was a question to ask because we were talking about it before. Man, I just wonder what goes through a man's mind if he does allow himself to be in that position. Because I feel like as a man, I feel like I have to go out there and my motivation is my family. Like I want to provide for them. Like I would not want to sit back and watch my wife do that. I'm not saying my wife can't go out there and be successful or whatever it is in her work, because I want my wife to be passionate about something. Yeah. I want her to have dreams. I want her to chase those dreams, and I want to support her on the way to chasing those dreams. And if she becomes more successful than me, I would not knock her for that. Now we gonna go toe to toe. You know what I'm saying? But that's just I wouldn't knock her for that, or would I look at her differently?
Yeah.
But I just wonder like what would go through a man's mind to be able to be comfortable in that situation.
And I think, and I want Manny to answer the question too, but I think innately, like I think there's something in a man that knows that he's been called to work, and to provide. I'm sure that you could, or you may have experiences of heard of things in other countries that may not be as affluent as America, where men naturally get up and go hunt. Yeah. They naturally get up and go provide. They naturally get up and bring food back.
It's a natural way
to
of
their
life.
Homes, right? Yeah. So I think it's something that's built into men. But what are your thoughts, Manny?
I really don't know. I mean, I know what our party line is here at BetterMan. But I have a hard time with this one. I'm not really sure one way or the other. Partially because I know what my wife goes through every day, and I don't think I mean, she works hard. We got 5 kids at home. One of those gives her just tremendous grief. I mean, it's requiring more concentration. I don't want to do it. I don't want to trade with her ever. Yeah. I'm happy to be home when I'm home, but I think, man, if the roles were reversed, I don't know. I think I could eventually get to the place where I do it well, but I think it would be, I mean, it's tough. She works hard. There's a lot of cleaning that she does. There's a lot of, I mean, she's just making the house look good all the time, just doing the chores that she wants to do. Yeah. Plus, she's a travel agent, and so she does that on the side because she wanted something outside of the house to do as well. Right. But so I don't look at what she does. I think what she does is actually harder than what I do. Yeah. So I think I have a great job. I love what I get to do. I get to travel. I get to tell people about Christ. I get to preach in different places, teach all these different things. We set up these events and all that. Hers is the same thing day after day. And the kids don't thank her as much as she deserves, and I don't thank her as much as she deserves, and the whole world doesn't know all that she does, even though she's working harder than I am sometimes. So that to me is the thing that I'm like, well, I'm not quite sure. I think my instincts are that the Bible does tend to lean more towards men need to be the head of the house for sure. There's no question on that. They got to be the head of the house. But I don't know, how does that look today in the 21st century where so many people work from home? Yeah. And so many people are.
But he's still providing.
Right. They're providing as well. So is my wife providing less for my family than I am? Because if she's not doing her job, then my kids are all going to die, and all of us, and the house goes to pot. If I'm not doing my job, then we don't have any money to spend, and so that's where I'm not sure. But if the roles were reversed, and I'm keeping the family alive, and I'm sustaining everybody, and she's bringing money, and we're both bringing provision, that's where I'm not sure, you know, and so I have that question that I don't know. What do you guys think?
Right. Well, I think. I don't know. I don't think the statement was because your wife is home, she's not providing. Right. Because that's false. So, ladies, if y'all heard that, unhear it.
That's a hard job.
Because we know that job is hard. Matter of fact, you deserve to be paid more than we are. Yeah. But so it's not that the woman is not providing, but can the man stay home and not bring, financial provision to the home? Yeah. Like, I understand a man can provide emotionally and spiritually, but he also needs to provide financially. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. And so, but the woman does the same thing. If she's at home with the kids, she's providing, or if she has a corporate job and they're in daycare, she's still providing.
So if she's doing the same thing, then why could the roles not be reversed in that sense, since they're both providing and they're both doing that, and they're both, she's doing the same thing that we're doing. So then why would we say, well, you can't provide that way?
Well, because I think if you're only staying home, then, well, let me back up. I think that you need to be able to give your wife the choice of whether she wants to go into the workforce or whether she wants to stay home. I think you can give her that choice, but you cannot give her that choice if you're not providing financially.
Okay.
I see the question you're asking, man. And it's a challenging question because you're asking if the roles were reversed and you were the provider of the home in that sense of taking care and make sure that the home is together while your wife goes and make sure that the financial part is together, what's the difference? And I think, man, I don't know. I think when you just rely on biblical terms of just a man going out there and getting it, it's just a challenge because you don't want to put nobody in a box. You don't want to say this is the right way to do it. I just think for me personally, I can only speak from my experience that I want my kids to grow up and see their father as the one going out there and getting it for their family and taking care of their family. But I also don't want them to look at their mother any different. Like if my wife wants to go out there and get it with me, man, I want them to see two parents that care enough to go out there and make sure their kids have everything that they need. And so I just think it all comes from your certain people's ways of doing things, what works for them, their values. But for me personally, I'm gonna stand true on what I said, where I think the man should be going out there and getting it. Right. Not saying the wife's not going out there and getting it, and not saying it's bad that the wife's at home taking care of the kids, because all of those are hard jobs, and I have 100% respect for that. But I think when we talk about the man as a whole, I think the man should be the one to go out there and get it for his family.
But I do think, women are natural nurturers.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt.
And so if your wife decides, hey, Manny, I no longer want to be out here in this corporate world. I want to be home nurturing and raising our children. Then you should find
be okay
the means
with this. Yeah.
And be okay with it. But you should find the means to allow her to do that, even if it means living off less.
Yeah.
I think part of our society, we just want to keep up with the Joneses. And there was a period in our lives when my wife stays at home. We had one car.
Yeah.
We had one car, bro. Yeah. But that's a sacrifice that we made for our family.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do. That's what we chose.
Yeah.
And if your wife, wants that for the betterment of your family, I do think it's the man's responsibility to find a way to make that happen.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. I think you put that perfectly, bro.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm curious to see what the comments say, man. I really I want people to chime in on this one.
I definitely want to circle back and definitely, I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I want to see what other people think of that situation as well when they hear Manny's perspective as well.
Yeah, that was good. Well, hey, this has been a good conversation. Good dogfight to be in.
Yeah.
We'll catch y'all next week.
Join the conversation. Comment your thoughts below.